Do we have anybody online?
Carol.
Carol. All right, so this is the first meeting of the legal committee for 2026. I'm going to do roll call first. Jenny?
Hi.
Hi. Jason? Morris, yes. Claire is not yet here. At the first meeting of every committee, although I know you both have already been to a committee so far this month, I'm going over the rules of order. Specifically, these rules apply pretty much to all of the committees. Most of them apply specifically to the Common Council meetings, formal and informal. However, I do want to draw everyone's attention to rule number 8 relating to public comment. At the discretion of the chair, whether that's committee chair or council chair, the floor may be open to comment from non-members of the council on a question before the council or new business at the new business portion of the meeting. Non-members may make one comment of no more than 2 minutes on any given question, and by question we mean question or issues. And chair may set a reasonable time frame for such public comments that's in the aggregate. Comments must be addressed to the council and not to other members of the public. As with council members, non-members must first be recognised by the chair. Any non-member seeking to speak must do so in an orderly fashion and shall not engage in conduct which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. If any person continues to engage in disorderly conduct after being warned by the chair to cease such behaviour, the chair may order the removal of said person from the meeting. Since we've all been through this more than once, I don't think we have any questions. And that is posted on the city website for the public. So we have a couple of old business items. Jenny, you're familiar with these because you were on this committee last year. The first one is the short-term rentals. So Logan, if you want to just pull up the short-term rentals document with the highlights. So currently, the short-term rental rules have a provision, which is highlighted here, that any person who owns a dwelling unit in the city of Hudson and resides in it at least 50 days a year may operate it as a short-term rental unit for up to a maximum of 60 days per calendar year. This was put in place for people who, not necessarily just people who are here on weekends, but if you are going away on vacation a couple of times a year, etc., that you can rent out your property. Allowing folks to do this has zero impact in availability of long-term rentals because obviously the person lives here, so they're not going to be renting their home out as long-term piece. A number of members of the community came up to me over the last year or so asking to have this revised to increase the maximum number of days to 120, which I think is perfectly reasonable. And this will go, unless I want to hear your comments, but I know you were part of this discussion in October. Do you have any questions about that, Jason?
Don't think I have any questions about that. Do you think there's 50 days a year of living here? Is that, I guess that's because of weekenders.
I think that's probably why it was written that way. So it's people who might be here. Yeah, I think it's really intended for weekenders, but you know, the more likely scenario is somebody who's going away a couple of times a year and they want to rent out their home.
Okay. I had a question about the prior one.
I have many questions about other things here.
Well, okay. It was the previous.
Yes.
Can I ask a question about that paragraph?
Yeah, of course you can.
So about the may operate up to 3 short-term rental units if they live on the property. Does that happen? Do we know if that's?
I could
anyone's
ask Michelle. I very much doubt that it does.
It sounds like.
Do you know anyone?
I personally know someone in my neighborhood who has, I think, 3 short-term rentals, or he did at one point.
Two is definitely not unusual.
I think he sold 1, so now he probably has 2. He had a family member living in one of the homes and he lived in the other.
Right,
That was 2 separate parcels.
Yeah.
This is on one parcel.
One.
like a fourplex would be, you
Yeah.
live in one and just
rent out the
Almost
other
like
short.
rented in. It's like,
Yeah.
what's the difference between that, Airbnb, regular B&B or?
Hang on.
I do know someone who does that too.
Okay,
Yeah,
it caught my eye.
Yeah.
It sounded like a scenario that,
in fact, when I was looking for a home, I rented from her several times.
I'll find out how often it applies.
Yeah,
I know of a couple of people who have two in their home. Cause some of the homes are larger and they can have two units
Yeah.
in their home.
I guess I was picturing a building that's specifically like a, built to be like a fourplex.
It may have been, that may have been the
Seems like
intent.
something that
Yeah.
is not in the, spirit of our law. Is that something like that that's set up like a fourplex? You wanna rent it, you
yeah,
want living people. rent it.
right, exactly. The particular scenario that I'm thinking of is not like that. They've just divided a very large home into spaces where people can stay.
More like a shared house and then
Yeah,
get a room. or something.
yeah. They all have their own bathroom.
Yeah,
I mean, I think there are other revisions that we could make to this, but right now, the only one that really seems to me to be fairly straightforward, I think it wouldn't hurt us to take a relook at the whole law. But for now, I think just increasing this to 120 days would be reasonable.
I also got emails about that from members of our communities.
We got several requests to increase that. Okay, that's that. I'm going to send this to the informal. We're going through everything for the informal tomorrow, so I'll make sure that's posted for the informal. And then we can hopefully vote on this month. The next piece of old business, which we discussed in October, if you want to pull up, the memo, yes. So, little history here, Jason. We have an issue with, e-bikes and scooters.
you're on this.
Yeah. So we've had a couple of accidents. The two areas in the town where most of the activity seems to occur is down towards the riverfront and then in the Fifth Ward near the school. There are, teenagers, probably under the age of 16. There's a lot of speeding, there's not observing, rules of the road. And so we looked at, Jenny had done some research on this and, our previous council, posted and in the documents from October, if you read those, we're gonna, bring this back up, ordinances in other cities. So the memorandum that she gave us, spelled that there are three categories of e-bike or, assisted bikes. The first category, requires that the, cyclist be actually pedaling for the assist to engage. The other two do not require that. And the highest category can go up to 25 miles an hour. In all of these categories, no person under the age of 16, this is New York State law, no person under the age of 16 shall operate a bicycle with electric assist. It's very difficult for the police observationally to determine, just looking at a bike, which category A, B, or C it belongs to. But certainly nobody under the age of 16 should be operating. Additionally, the bike helmet law in New York only applies to people under the age of 14. Right. Now, New York does allow municipalities to adopt stricter ordinances. And so I'm just bringing this back up again for us to divvy up who should work on which pieces. When we talked about it last time, we talked about taking kind of a three-prong approach, having a safety education campaign, and this came up in the services meeting as well, where we were talking about bike safety and perhaps doing some training at the youth department. We could also do it at Bliss Towers and at the school. That's something I think that you were interested in, Jenny, in looking at some safety programs.
Yeah, and also Dominic also
Yes.
brought up that he had found, some existing
Yes,
literature that he could get a hold of and we could distribute. I think it's really important.
the issue with the helmets, I think we can, we could try to put it in that everybody has to be wearing, that you are required to wear a helmet in class 3 and the class C, the one that can go to 25 miles an hour. But I think we need to talk to the police about that and how to enforce that. I do know that they have been pulling people over. So we have the accident that we had, it was like the day after we brought up this issue in one of our meetings. There was an accident, I think it was down near Front Street. With head injuries, I believe.
At first.
Yeah, it was down there. That happened the day after we had been discussing this at one of our meetings.
I think there was a second.
There have been more than one. But the root cause of that accident was that the cyclist did not stop at a stop sign.
Random stop sign.
Exactly. So I think, when I've talked to Captain Miller about this, looking at enforcement of cyclists following the rules of the road, that's really critical. It's about, I do think helmets are a good idea, but it's very, very difficult to force that when New York State does not require helmets for people over the age of 16.
Well, maybe we should draft a law that for our community, you should be wearing a helmet if you're under 18 years old. It's your choice if you're over 18. But we should strongly encourage it.
Would that,
Oh, yeah.
what are you suggesting?
Or all bikes,
All bikes.
and scooters.
Yes, scooters are definitely a problem. So I can work on local ordinances, local laws. I think this is something that would be good to have in the safety committee. So maybe the enforcement part of it ought to go over to the safety committee to work with the police department to come up with an enforcement program. Do you feel that the educational piece ought to also be routed to the safety committee?
Sure, yes.
Both?
I don't think it's really good for legal unless someone's just interested.
I mean,
There's no reason that anyone who wants to work on it can't work on it,
yeah,
but it's,
And safety to me seems to be the right place to
Yeah.
send it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I can work on the local ordinances piece, and this committee can look at, I'll review what's out there, if you all just review the other ordinances. And then we can come up with our own ordinance regarding this. And then send that up to, the full council for review. But the first two items, when we started discussing it, we decided to break it into components, and that's why it is the way it is. So, okay, so we'll send those to safety.
I think practically there's not a huge difference between the classes. If we have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit here anyway,
Right, that's correct.
there's not a huge difference observationally between
Yeah, it's very,
going 20 and going
Yeah.
25. It's, from what I've observed, it's really just reckless riding.
Mhm.
Which is probably already a lot. I mean, it is a lot.
I think it's something that should be really emphasized at the schools.
yes,
Because, just attacking it from, Bliss Towers or at, the youth club, they could do a second round, but
I think
it
the
should
school's
be,
the right
the
place.
school is the right place to do the thing. And just, emphasizing to the students that, if you're going 25 miles an hour and somebody else is going 25 miles an
That's
hour,
good.
when you hit, the impact is incredible and the amount of damage you can do to your body is devastating. So, yeah.
I agree, the schools are the appropriate form.
Yeah.
There is an adult component to the issue. The man who
Yeah.
ran the stop sign on.
Yeah, that was an
That
accident,
was an adult.
yes.
And
And
I
there was a-
definitely see many
There was a
adults
very serious accident
riding.
right outside my house a couple of years ago, an adult was cycling the wrong way on Fifth. And, a car coming out of the alley, turning right to go south on Fifth, obviously was looking for things coming on the left. I didn't see this guy cycling on the right. And that was a very serious case.
Well,
But that was an adult, and that wasn't an e-bike, that was a bike. I mean, in general, I think we need enforcement of rules of the road for people on bikes, regardless of whether they're e-bikes or not.
and that's something that I think we could put on the hub too. Here are our new rules and suggestions and, you know, just so that everyone knows.
I
As
think-
you know, I had a friend
Yeah.
die like that, so.
I think that you're correct about the schools and, you know, where Captain Miller is saying that they do see issues is around the schools up, you know, that hill coming down. That's
And in
where
front
you
of
see the
my
schools.
house, going the wrong way,
Yeah.
on a blind corner.
Okay, so I'll work on, for next month, I'll bring some stuff with suggested ordinances. Send me suggestions that you have, and we can move forward on that, and I will route the other two components over to safety. Okay. New business. So, let's put that over there. I worked on a document with Ken regarding use of video conferencing. So this does not really change what we're currently doing. However, the background here is that New York State, after COVID, New York State law requires that municipalities, if they're not just doing exactly what is in New York State law, that you must have a written policy and law related to video conferencing. Their definitions of extraordinary circumstances are narrower than the definitions that we're putting in here. So the purpose here is to put this on the books. It will require a public hearing before we can vote on it and enact it. So if you go down to members to be physically present. One thing in general that I will point out that the issue of quorum, if you are absent because of disability, New York State law allows that person to be counted as part of the quorum. They do not have to be in the room. Pretty much every other case, you have to be in the room. For paragraph 2, for purposes of these procedures, the term extraordinary circumstances, and this is where we have latitude to put in our definitions, includes disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, bereavement, travel. All of those are state law. Unusual and necessary work obligations outside the member's ordinary work schedule. That was something that Ken and I put in. That's not, we're allowed to put that in. So if you, for some reason, you're told you need to do a late shift, whatever, then that would be an extraordinary circumstance. Or any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes the member's physical attendance at the meeting. Determination, that's kind of a catch-all for some circumstance that we haven't thought of. Determination of whether any event or condition qualifies as an extraordinary circumstance authorizing absence from a council meeting shall be made by the council president. So if somebody is calling in or they let me know right before the meeting, some particular situation, I can say, okay, I will allow that as extraordinary, but that is subject to the council, 6 members of the council could reject that as a reason. We put that in simply to make sure that we have, if something comes up that we haven't thought of, that would be addressed. In addition to extraordinary circumstances, extraordinary circumstances may be invoked by a member on not more than 2 occasions during the calendar year. And this is for the regular and informal meetings or special meetings due to absence resulting from business or personal travel or vacation. So the state doesn't treat those as extraordinary because that's something that's scheduled and predictable, right? We wanted to put that in because people do take vacation, they're absent. So that up to 2 absences relating to travel. The important piece here is we don't vote in the informal meeting. We do vote in the formal meeting. So What this allows for is that somebody who is absent because they are traveling will still be able to vote. Would be in the formal meeting. So if you're absent on a third or additional occasion, then you can participate for discussion, but you cannot vote. And obviously, if you fail to, attend a meeting, in the absence of any qualifying circumstance or the ones we've listed above, they will not be able to participate in the meeting other than as a member of the public. But I don't think in the 4 years I've been here that's ever happened. So one of the things we also have to do under New York State law is post if video conferencing may be used. And we have hybrid meetings, but this is notifying the public that members of the council may be using video conferencing. And so the most straightforward way to deal with that, rather than having to, a law that you say you have to notify me 4 days in advance. Well, you don't know you're going to be sick 4 days in advance, right? So I think posting something generic for all of our meetings that says members of the committee or of the council may be participating via video conferencing, and that way we don't have to update it, we don't have to change it. So the quorum piece is addressed under 8. Someone by video conferencing has a disability. It's defined in section 209 of the executive law. That's all laid out, including pregnancy. That's all state law. They can count as a quorum. And documentation of disability is just a good faith claim by the individual that they have a qualifying disability. Public notice piece I've just commented on, we'll do that generically, that you can, that we may have members of the committee attending virtually. We've also put in, when you're video conferencing, you have to be audible and visible to the public. That we have always done. Let me see. We did put something in here that you should notify the chair of the meeting ahead of time. If you're going to be absent, that could be, if it's something that just comes up, it could be right before the meeting, it could be, a couple of days before, but you should notify the chair of the meeting that you will be doing video conferencing and why. The minutes of the meetings, I think you already do this. The minutes have to reflect whoever is attending remotely. This is in effect until such time as New York State updates the law fairly regularly. So this is in effect until such time as New York State changes the law. So any questions on that? It should be, given this time scale that we have to do a public hearing, I think that we won't have it fully in place until March. But that's okay. Until then, we will not be allowing, other than what is explicitly allowed under New York State law, we will not be allowing remote participation with a vote between now and when we get this in place in March. But I don't think that's going to be much. So this is really just a bit of tidying up.
Not an issue, maybe for this, just since we're on this topic. How do we feel about video conferencing of committees and throughout the city? There's not a consistent, not all committees are doing it. Do we feel like all should be?
I think all should be.
All the subcommittees of the common council are.
Raise your
Yes.
hand. Here's the thing to raise it.
Oh, I won't try.
Sorry,
All right.
this.
Okay.
Well, I don't.
So should I guess I'm going to go over that. I don't know what the,
I'm sorry. Can you hold on a second, Rob? I want to hear the rest of what Jason was
I
saying.
guess the one board in the city that I think about that I'd like to see more often without always attending would be the zoning board of appeals.
I see.
That's the only.
And I just
What was that?
wonder,
That is the
is
only.
there anything, and
That's
that's,
fine.
it was a yes. Yeah.
Planning
It's-
boards sometimes know.
No, but now they're going to be doing, they have switched.
Like, maybe it's a whole council question, but since we're here talking about this, I just wanted.
No, I
In your
agree with you. Yeah, I think it's everyone should.
Housing.
I was just gonna say that HHA is, yes, that's another one.
I think they are reporting.
Hang on a second.
They don't.
Rule number 8. I'll come to you in a moment. Yeah, I think, so part of the issue there, I mean, they can raise it. The housing authority is a separate entity over which we have no authority, right? Zoning Board of Appeals is something we can bring up with the mayor. Are there any others? I don't think there are any others that are not participating. Okay, so we're gonna go to Ron and then I'm gonna come back to you. So Ron, you had your hand raised?
It's mic off, I don't know if you did.
I think you're muted.
Claire also has her. Claire.
Oh, Claire's online?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Claire.
Sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting. I heard Jason's comment. I personally think that having streaming available but having participation in person makes sense to me. That's just my opinion. I'm home with the flu right now, or I would be there. Struggling to breathe. Sorry. Yeah, that was my comment, just about my preference
Oh,
of
okay.
live streaming and participating in person.
And so Claire, that's fine. We're just getting this put in place. We're not voting here, so there's no issue. But just heads up, text me, whatever, or the chair of any committee, if you're not going to be able to make it, because we would have waited for you if we'd known you were joining remotely. Anyway, so Ron does not appear to have a comment. Is that correct, Logan?
Yeah, no, hand up.
Okay. You had a comment.
I thought the housing authority, but I could be wrong, I don't replay, so I don't generally know from recordings. But I'm a big fan of in real life, but that's it.
Well, correct.
No, you need
Right.
to
No,
allow
I
the
agree.
possibility.
Yeah, during COVID, what we found was that it really increased the ability of people in the public to listen to meetings without having to come over to City Hall.
You know, I wish the library would do a video recording. But that's another separate issue.
It's a separate issue. Okay. So I'll get we'll post this for the informal. Ken will be at the informal meeting, so any other questions that anyone has, the rest of the council has regarding any issues in it, we can discuss there. And then he will walk us through what the process is to move it forward. Last item that I have is Public Works Board. This is just informational. The current makeup of the Public Works Board has the commissioner for DPW. The membership is defined. A representative from the council, which is Gary, a person appointed by the council, which is David Marsden right now, and he's going to renew his term. That resolution will be at the informal meeting. There is, let me see, there is also someone appointed by the mayor. Who else? Who am I missing? Coordinator. And the ADA coordinator, correct. So after some discussion with Rob Perry, it would be beneficial to have Rob Perry on that because much of what they do, they need to go back to him to get clarification and so forth. So
The commissioner is also one, so is that,
the commissioner
is
is
that
on.
replacing or?
No, I think we will simply add. Unless, you know, we could switch it. I haven't spoken to the commissioner. That's a good suggestion, actually.
Yeah, I would be fine either way, I just thought, give them the option.
What I was writing up was, just adding the superintendent, but what I can do is check with both of them. And if the commissioner thinks, okay, you know, it's fine just to have the superintendent on, we could do that. But I'll give them the option. There's a sense in which that might actually be preferable. because it doesn't change the number of members of the board.
Right.
Anyway, I'm working on writing something up on that. I hope to get it out for the informal. I don't have anything for tonight. I just wanted to let you know that that's going to be coming up.
But it might be legal related to the Public Works Board. Is are crosswalks part of sidewalks?
That's a good question.
Because they have they're tasked with fixing sidewalks and they have money to fix sidewalks. If they do a ramp on one corner and then a ramp on the other corner, would it be written into their bylaws to connect them with a crosswalk? Or that their money can be used for crosswalks in the areas that they're working.
Right.
I wouldn't say they go out looking for it, but if they are working on an area that could benefit from a crosswalk adjacent to some sidewalks.
I will look at their bylaws.
Yeah, it's not in the bylaws now.
It is a reference.
No, it's to crosswalk. I guess I wouldn't want it to get out of control, just.
Maybe ones that have not had a crosswalk in the past is the first that you start with. And identifying the spots that are most hazardous. That have.
I think at that point, you're beginning to get into, I think you're getting beyond what this is responsible for.
They can maybe talk about that, but I guess almost like giving them the permission,
Right.
if we
I
want.
think probably where I would begin with that was because the order in which the sidewalks had to be repaired, the priority order that was set out was based upon the DOJ checklist of things that had to be fixed. And so I think probably I'd begin with that checklist and say, of the ones that we have been working through for the DOJ priorities, do we need to look at sidewalks or crosswalks?
Where do we find that list? Does it exist within?
It existed back when we were putting this together before the board was formed, when Michael Hoffman was working with us on this. And legal and Michael Hoffman worked on the whole law. So it definitely exists.
I came up with an easy way to think of it.
Mhm.
So it's going to all of the major municipal buildings.
Right.
Okay,
So if you think of going,
And
if you go to the youth department, they have to go to the library,
right,
they go to the fire station, which is odd because they go there both 6th and 7th.
right.
And then
City Hall.
City Hall
Yeah,
and to the police department.
okay,
There were a list of ones that we had to cure.
okay.
And that's, I think, I'll get a
And have they started a list of the others that, the others, all of the others?
I have not attended their meetings in a while, so I do not know.
Okay, thanks, Linda.
A lot of that is being spearheaded by Ryan Locke of Crawford Associates. I don't know exactly how you pronounce his last name, but it's
I can look
Locke
into
or
it.
Lockheed.
Okay. I had a question.
Is it a new topic?
It is new.
Okay, so we're done with what we've got now new topics.
Okay. I have two. The amendment to the budget that, for the youth department that we talked about in December, so that they can have, at least an assistant to the director. Is that gonna be worked on in finance, or is that going to be here?
So, that would not be worked on here.
Okay,
There is a hiring freeze in place. And what we voted to approve in December was to correct the error that was made where, the youth department was budgeted for 6 full-time positions because the spreadsheet indicated that two of the positions were vacant. Every department had a hiring freeze. And so the problem was that actually one of those positions was actually filled. So the resolution that came to us was requiring an amendment to put back in place funding for both positions. But because of the fact that there was a hiring freeze in place, we put back the position that we voted to approve, amending the budget to put back the position that was currently held. And then I think discussion of any further hiring in the youth department is probably going to have to go through the mayor and through the BEA.
The way that I understood it is that there wasn't an assistant, but that position already existed.
Oh, the position exists, but it was vacancy. The hiring freeze it wasn't just you can't create new positions. It was, the discussion at the BEA was, do we need to start, is a situation where we need to start cutting positions? And what was agreed to was that across the board, all of the vacancies, there'd be a hiring freeze on vacancies. I believe there is language that if it's a critical position, that the mayor can go ahead and fill it. So for example, the code enforcement officer, that position was vacant when Craig retired or left. That's a critical position, it has to be filled. So that is a situation where it's exempt. So that is a judgment I think that probably the mayor in consultation with the BEA would need to make.
The way I understood that conversation in December was that the assistant position would be filled. And we had this whole thing about, what I remember, and maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, is that, we would try and work on that before March because they are going to need help, or Calvin would need help as they began to talk about and plan for summer. So I don't know, and maybe I'm misremembering.
Well, no, I don't think you are. That was indeed the discussion. But the thing is that when you have a hiring freeze in place, it's not really up to the council. The way the decision was made was that if a position was considered to be a critical position, the decision could be made to fill it. But I think that decision would have to be from the mayor's office and then also in consultation with the BEA. Yeah. Well, mayor is part of the BEA.
And maybe eventual approval
Right.
by the council.
Right, so what the council has to approve then, if, we didn't approve anything, for example, for the code enforcement officer. And that one was fairly straightforward because the budget for 2026 already had funds appropriated for a code enforcement officer. And also clearly an essential position that we have to fill, right? In this situation, we have a position which is not funded for 2026 in the budget. So a decision can be made that this is essential and needs to be filled, at which point the common council will have to authorize amending the budget to allow. That's how that process goes.
I was just wondering who was going to,
I'll talk to the
Yeah.
mayor's office about it and see what's going to happen there, and what steps we need to go through. Yeah. So,
and the second.
sorry, hang on, there's somebody has, Logan,
Claire had her hand up.
Claire, yeah,
Claire.
Claire, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if we need clarification, is it something we go through you to get the clarification from the mayor, or is that a conversation that we're supposed to have with Elena? Just for any hiring questions, I'm curious what the process is. If it's to go through you, that's great. I just
It's
am not
not-
sure.
It's not a discussion with Elena. So since the hiring freeze was a BEA decision, what I would like to do is, as a member of the BEA, I would like to meet with Heather and Joe and ask them, okay, what process are we going to have here? If we have situations where we have a position, this one is kind of, it's kind of a unique situation where it is not funded. And there may be a determination that this is an essential position, but the process that it will have to go through will eventually be one that we did to put back, to revise the budget to allow for the person who is actually employed. But it's not a question for Elena.
Okay, and then would you bring that information back to services committee or
Yes.
would you give that to the full
I
council?
will bring that back to the full to full council.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other hands up? Okay, you had another issue you wanted to bring up?
I just wanted to, see who, you know how I feel about parking minimums. And I've brought it up several times and I think it's important. I don't wanna turn the whole town into a parking lot, but when developers build something new or take something that's old and make something new of it, and they have 200 people coming to their space for whatever reason, we need adequate parking. And I think that if we were to charge the developer for each parking spot that they are lacking, then we could eventually put that into a fund by itself and eventually have enough money to maybe start building up in some of the existing parking lots.
So I have some thoughts on that. But when the law that eliminated parking requirements was blanket,
Mhm.
and I think what you're talking about, I feel, is that residential developments are different. If someone is building a restaurant and there's traffic that comes and goes, it's one thing. I almost want to separate the two issues and discuss them separately. But residential and the planning board has struggled with this, and the only tool that they've used is SECRA to address it. I also happen to have good conversations. Do you remember the good talk by the town, Middletown? Did a lot of work with additional housing developments, and
Oh, yeah.
they dropped down to 1.5 units per
Per spot.
per spots per unit.
Okay, yeah.
And then they're considering going down as low as 1.25. And I said, well, aren't some places considering zero? He said, yeah, Kingston. And he said,
Right.
he thinks they're really gonna regret it. And I said, but they haven't built it yet. So they have a development that's coming along that's going to have zero parking requirements.
So hang on. One of the documents that we looked at last year, well, I think was Red Hook. And so what Red Hook put in place is not a minimum, but a maximum. So what they were trying to protect was the character of the village. And so they put in maximum thresholds for parking spaces for new developments. Because they didn't want large parking lots. So I think putting this on the agenda to discuss and to look at and to look, because simply eliminating all requirements, I think has created a lot of problems for the planning.
Created huge problems.
And I agree with you that we should take a look at that. What we had on the books was unworkable.
Mhm.
And there were constantly waivers. So to your point about commercial, it was requiring a certain number of spots per table, in restaurants. And that's just, on a.
There-
And that was where, it had too many issues. So the idea was, well, we'll just eliminate it and then the planning board will address it.
They
But they have to be given some kind of, guidelines.
Yeah.
So, I know, I agree. I think we should put it on the agenda.
I know that there are two spots in town. One is in the 4th ward and could be exacerbated by other things that might happen. And then the other is down on Front Street. I think those are two stress points.
Are you talking about the pocketbook factory?
I'm talking about, yeah, Pocketbook Factory plus the fact that now we have the Galvin project that is now open, but
Depot loft.
yeah,
Which one?
loft.
Which one?
Depot loft.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what's on Front Street?
Well, on Front Street, you're going to have Ben Fain's project, you're going to have 11 Warren, which has totally inadequate parking. And yeah, I mean, those are gonna be stress points on two ends of town. And there are places there that we could build up if we wanted to, on both that are not going to bother the community too much. So I don't know.
The parking came up with the HHA's presentation to the planning board this week,
Mhm.
and they said they studied Bliss Towers, I think is what they studied, and they came up with like 60%. What they're using currently is 60% parking spaces to number of units. So they took that and extrapolated it to the new development, which I wasn't sure was fair comparison.
Yeah,
But, it's coming up all the time.
Yes, it is.
The boulevards that was a big thing at the boulevards.
With the apartment building?
Yeah,
The one on the Fairview.
the one that they just demoed, yeah.
Yeah.
we're a town or city that was built before there were cars. So now we're having, I mean, this is a very special circumstance. And when you start looking at other communities and what they've done, it may not actually work here. So I don't know.
If we put it on it'll
Yeah.
be on the agenda for next month if you want to start doing some research on it, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Can-
I've already pulled some things.
Yeah, that's good. Logan, any hands up?
Yep.
Okay, we have hand up in the room.
Yeah, Lloyd Alton, your voice, please. Who's that in a year, so I gotta bring you back and reintroduce myself. So I agree kind of what Mr. Foster was saying. I mean, the Boulevard and 11 Warren were two examples where they tried to cram too much in and didn't allow for adequate parking. Now, I would hope that they would provide for adequate parking. I mean, if they, I don't know, where did Boulevard wind up with 6 units? If they had done 20, would they have adequate parking? Did they need that extra 6 units? You know, and then same thing, same story with County and 11 Warren. So, and I don't know that creating a fund, and I understand that's like you're thinking and that Jennifer's thinking on this. And I understand that I don't really need to get into a debate, but I think they just need to have adequate parking, period, you know, and then not count on the city later on, years later, a decade later, making enough money to provide for their shortfall. So I would look at it as their shortfall and require that they, you know, if it's a new development, particularly like, you know, you had with Depot Loft was given some sort of an exclusion, Pocketbook was given some sort of a special treatment, you know, so I don't know the story behind all that. Anyway, different subject. I mean,
Are you finished on the parking comment?
I
think you're pretty close to your 2 minutes, sir.
I thought that minute, I have a minute,
No,
but
this is not the discussion. We have heard your comment on parking. Did
I
you,
think, I don't think there's much else to say. I think
Okay,
it's
that's
kind of
fine.
like, you know,
Just a moment,
that's
just a moment.
Pretty straightforward,
just a moment.
yeah,
Did you say that you had a comment on another topic?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I have 2 more, I don't think I can remember them. So, and this is probably perhaps not pertinent to anything here, but I was just curious with the housing trust fund. Because they canceled the meeting yesterday. I don't know what the particulars, I was hoping some resolution on what was happening there with the members. I know that most of the members have a term that expires in December of 2026, but the housing justice chief is also an executor of the trust, which is a particular position. Okay, so I think Michelle was under the impression she was going to December 26th.
It's not an appropriate,
Well, I'm just throwing it out there.
it's not an appropriate
Well, I-
topic for this group.
Okay, I was legal, that's kind of why I thought you might be able to shed some light on it.
HCDPA oversees housing trust fund, you could bring it up there. Okay,
Yeah,
did you have another topic you
I'm
want
trying
to
to
mention?
remember what it was. Did we have a
Okay.
second for my senior recall here? If I
We
can?
have a hand up. Go ahead, Logan.
Ronald has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you
Yes.
can.
Okay,
There's a question raised at the meeting of the Public Works Board, which just preceded this meeting, about sidewalks and the ownership and responsibility thereof. And Mr. Weaver, the former mayoral aide, had said that he had discussions before the end of last year with Ms. Peck, the former counsel to the council, and Mr. Perry of the Public Works Department. And they had concluded that depending on whatever type of accident might occur on the sidewalk, that there might be different areas of responsibility for the city versus individual owners. And I think, and he was of the opinion that the charter is unclear on this, and the issue needed clarification. And I wanted to bring this to your attention in the hopes that
Thank you.
perhaps the legal committee would be the area to clarify this matter.
And Ron, did this come up in the meeting today that just
Yes,
preceded this one?
today. Yeah, today.
Okay, and so I'll go back and I'll listen to the discussion. And then I will follow up with our current council and see what the issue is. But thank you very much for bringing that
All
up.
right, thank you.
I came in at 6 p.m. early and I heard the discussion.
Okay,
So that's where it is in the.
okay. Oh, good, thank you. All right, any other new business? Claire, do you have anything? I can't see you, so I don't know.
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I think I remember that,
Okay.
that point if I may.
Second,
Can I?
we're adjourned.
You can talk to any of us after.
All right.
Okay, so I think we're done, Logan.